Masturbation is one of the most natural and universal human experiences, yet it's often surrounded by unnecessary shame, secrecy, and misinformation. As a urologist and pelvic surgeon, I often meet patients who feel confused or even anxious about their habits, worried that they might be doing it wrong or harming their sexual health. So let's clear the air right now. Masturbation is not bad for you. In fact, it's a healthy, normal expression of sexuality that allows you to connect with your body, explore what feels good, and even reduce stress. However, like any repetitive physical behavior, certain techniques or habits, when practiced in the same way for long periods, can have unintended consequences on your sexual response, especially when it comes to partnered intimacy. One of the most common issues I hear about in my practice is something colloquially known as the death grip. This term may sound dramatic, but it perfectly captures what's happening physiologically. The death grip involves squeezing the penis with excessive pressure and moving rapidly during masturbation, something that can't be replicated by a partner's hand, mouth, or genitals. Over time, this intense pressure can desensitize the nerves in the penis, leading to decreased sensitivity and difficulty achieving orgasm through other types of stimulation. Initially, it may feel great. The pleasure is intense, immediate, and satisfying, but as the body adapts to that specific stimulus, it begins to rely on it. This habituation process means that your brain and body become trained to respond only to that unique sensation, which can create challenges during partnered sex when that same level of friction or tightness simply isn't possible. Now, this doesn't mean that using a firm grip once in a while is harmful. The issue arises when it becomes the only way you experience pleasure. When that happens, your body learns a single pattern of stimulation, and anything outside of that feels unsatisfying or even frustrating. The good news, this habit can be retrained. By loosening your grip, slowing your pace, or incorporating lubricant, you can begin to resensitize the nerves and expand your range of pleasurable experiences. I often recommend using masturbation as a mindful exploration rather than a race to orgasm. You might even discover new sensations, a light touch, a slow rhythm, or even gentle pressure from a soft fabric or feather that bring unexpected pleasure. Another habit that can interfere with sexual health is doing things the exact same way every time. This might mean relying on the same fantasy, watching the same type of erotic content, or even stimulating yourself in the same position. While familiarity feels comforting, sexual arousal is highly responsive to novelty. When you rely on a single source of arousal, say a particular type of pornography or a recurring fantasy, your brain starts to associate that exact stimulus with pleasure. As a result, when you're with a real partner, your mind may struggle to engage, especially if the sensory or emotional cues don't match what you've trained it to expect. For example, watching highly stimulating or aggressive forms of pornography can set a sensory bar that real-life intimacy can't always meet. That's not because your partner is doing something wrong. It's because your arousal system has become accustomed to a specific type of intensity. It's important to know that this doesn't mean you have a dysfunction. It simply means your body has learned a certain pattern. Just like you can train a muscle, you can retrain your arousal response. Try varying your experiences, read erotica, use your imagination, or watch something different. Better yet, consider engaging in intimacy with your partner without relying on visual stimuli, perhaps through sensual conversation, touch, or shared fantasy. When people experience difficulty getting aroused with their partner, it often leads to something I call anticipatory anxiety. You start worrying, what if I can't get an erection? What if I can't climax? What if they notice something's wrong? These thoughts activate your body's stress response, which releases cortisol, a hormone that ironically can inhibit arousal and orgasm. It becomes a vicious cycle. Anxiety about performance leads to poor performance, which causes more anxiety. That's why I encourage my patients to reframe sexual intimacy as play, not performance. Sex isn't a test you pass or fail. It's a shared experience of pleasure, connection, and vulnerability. Lubrication is another often overlooked element of healthy masturbation. Friction without lubrication can irritate the sensitive skin of the genitals and over time lead to microtears or inflammation. Using lube not only protects the skin, but also mimics the natural wetness of a partner's body, creating a smoother, more realistic sensation. There are many types of lubricants, water-based, silicone-based, and oil-based, each with its pros and cons. Water-based lubes are versatile but may dry out during longer sessions, while silicone lubes last longer and are great for water play. If you prefer natural alternatives, coconut or olive oil can be used safely, though they're not condom compatible. What you should avoid are products like lotions or petroleum jelly, which can cause irritation or disrupt the genital microbiome. Another habit that deserves attention is the quickie mindset. Many of us learn to masturbate in secrecy, trying to finish as fast as possible to avoid being caught. Unfortunately, that sense of urgency can linger into adulthood, leading to rapid, goal-oriented masturbation that prioritizes orgasm over pleasure. When this becomes habitual, your body may begin to associate arousal with speed, making it difficult to slow down during partnered sex. This can contribute to premature ejaculation or difficulty sustaining arousal. If you recognize this pattern, try to consciously slow down your routine. Take time to explore sensations, focus on your breathing, and notice what feels good at each stage. Sexual self-awareness is not indulgent. It's foundational to healthy intimacy. And finally, perhaps the most important element of all, letting go of guilt. Many people grow up hearing messages that masturbation is dirty or sinful. And even if they rationally know better as adults, that subconscious shame can persist. Guilt creates tension in the body and mind, and when tied to something as natural as self-pleasure, it can distort one's relationship with sexuality as a whole. Masturbation is not only normal, it's beneficial. It promotes relaxation, improves sleep, releases endorphins, and helps people understand what brings them pleasure. Learning to accept your body's needs without judgment is a vital part of sexual wellness. Masturbation is, at its core, an act of self-love. It's about connecting with yourself, not out of necessity or compulsion, but out of curiosity, care, and respect for your own body. Everyone deserves to feel good, experience pleasure, and understand their own sexual responses. You don't need to meet any external standard or have a certain kind of body, relationship, or status to enjoy yourself. You are enough exactly as you are. If you take just one message from this chapter, let it be this: masturbation is not the problem, it's how you relate to it that matters. Whether you're looking to improve sensitivity, reconnect with your partner, or simply understand your body better, small changes in how you approach self-pleasure can make a profound difference. When it comes to sexual health, one of the most fascinating and sometimes frustrating truths is that our bodies are incredibly adaptable. They learn patterns, rhythms, and associations, and then they repeat them automatically. This adaptability is what makes sexual conditioning such a powerful force. Over time, the way we masturbate, the kind of stimuli we use, and the environment we create around pleasure all begin to teach our brain what arousal should look and feel like. The challenge, however, is that when this pattern becomes too narrow, when the brain and body only respond to a specific set of conditions, it can limit our ability to enjoy intimacy in its many forms. I often tell my patients that sexual response is not just about anatomy. It's about connection between the brain and the body. The brain is the largest sexual organ we have. It interprets touch, creates desire, and links emotional intimacy to physical pleasure. So when we rely exclusively on one method of stimulation, for instance, using a tight grip or always pairing arousal with explicit visual content, we're teaching the brain to associate pleasure with that exact situation. It's like playing the same song over and over until it becomes the only tune your mind recognizes. From a neurological standpoint, this happens because of a process called neuroplasticity. The brain forms connections between neurons that fire together. Neurons that fire together wire together. If you consistently masturbate using a single technique, you're strengthening those neural pathways while neglecting others that might allow you to enjoy different kinds of stimulation. The more repetitive the behavior, the stronger that conditioning becomes. This is why some individuals find it difficult to climax during partnered sex after years of masturbating in the same specific way. Their brain has essentially coded pleasure to that one pattern. This is also where performance anxiety begins to creep in. You might start to notice that you can easily achieve orgasm alone, but struggle with a partner. The first few times, you might shrug it off, stress, maybe, or fatigue. But then it happens again, and suddenly there's a sense of dread before intimacy even begins. What if it happens this time too? What if I can't perform? What if my partner is disappointed? These thoughts activate the sympathetic nervous system, your body's fight or flight response. Adrenaline and cortisol levels rise, your blood vessels constrict, and arousal becomes even more difficult. It's important to understand that this isn't your fault. It's your biology doing exactly what it's designed to do. When the brain perceives stress or threat, it prioritizes survival over pleasure. That's why anxiety and arousal can't coexist easily. One of the best ways to counteract this is through mindfulness, learning to redirect your attention from outcomes like orgasm or erection to experiences like touch, connection, and sensation. In other words, bring your awareness back to the moment. I often encourage both men and women to approach self-pleasure as a form of sensual meditation. Rather than rushing toward climax, focus on what feels good at each step, the warmth of your skin, the rhythm of your breathing, the sensations that arise when you slow down. This kind of mindful engagement not only helps rewire the brain's response patterns, but also fosters a deeper connection with your body. Over time, this retraining can restore sensitivity, increase arousal, and even enhance intimacy with your partner. Now, let's talk about desensitization, both physical and psychological. Physically, overstimulation through excessive pressure or vibration can temporarily dull sensitivity in the genitals. For instance, vibrators with strong intensity or repetitive high-frequency stimulation can lead to what's sometimes called vibrator-induced numbness. This doesn't mean permanent damage. It's usually reversible with rest and variation, taking a break from your usual routine, using gentler touch, or experimenting with different sensations helps the nerve endings recover and become responsive again. Psychologically, desensitization can occur when your brain becomes overstimulated by highly specific erotic content. The dopamine spikes that occur during arousal create a powerful feedback loop. You seek more stimulation to achieve the same level of excitement. When the content becomes progressively more extreme or novel, it takes more and more to trigger that dopamine release. Eventually, ordinary physical intimacy may not feel enough. This doesn't mean something is broken. It means your brain has adapted to a higher threshold of stimulation. Just like with any habit, moderation and variation are key. Taking breaks from pornography or switching to different types of erotic cues, such as reading or imagination-based fantasies, can help reset the dopamine response and restore balance. Communication also plays an essential role in this healing process. If you're in a relationship, talking openly with your partner about what you're experiencing can alleviate much of the pressure. Many people assume their partner will take it personally, that difficulty getting aroused must mean a lack of attraction or interest. But more often, it's simply a reflection of how the body has learned to respond. Explaining that you're working to reconnect with your natural arousal patterns helps normalize the experience for both of you. You might even find that exploring new ways to experience pleasure together, whether that's mutual touch, slower sessions, or sensual massage, strengthens your bond and rekindles intimacy. One practical technique I recommend is what sex therapists call sensate focus. It's a gradual, non-demanding form of physical exploration where partners take turns touching each other with the goal of experiencing sensation rather than achieving orgasm. By focusing on pleasure without pressure, couples often rediscover the joy of physical connection without the performance anxiety that tends to disrupt arousal. Lubrication, again, deserves mention here, not just as a comfort tool, but as a sensory enhancer. When used mindfully, lube can heighten tactile awareness, reduce friction, and help create a more fluid experience that encourages relaxation. For individuals who associate self-pleasure with dryness or friction, reintroducing lubricant can be an easy way to change the sensory context and begin retraining the body to enjoy softer, more natural sensations. Another key part of reconditioning involves breaking the speed cycle. Many people masturbate quickly out of habit, not desire, perhaps developed from younger years when privacy was scarce. But rapid stimulation reinforces a reflexive rather than responsive sexual pattern, meaning the body becomes used to quick, goal-oriented arousal. Relearning slower pleasure can feel strange at first, even frustrating, but patience is vital. Imagine teaching your body a new language. The fluency comes with time, repetition, and curiosity. On a physiological level, slower arousal allows blood flow to increase more gradually in the genital tissues, enhancing both sensation and erection quality. It also gives your brain time to register subtle variations in touch and pressure, sensations that are often missed during fast stimulation. Many patients tell me that once they slow down, they start noticing new pleasure zones they didn't even realize existed before. Equally important is cultivating emotional safety around your sexuality. Shame, guilt, or anxiety about masturbation can create chronic tension that dampens desire and interferes with pleasure. If you grew up hearing negative messages about self-pleasure, it can take time to unlearn them. Remember, sexuality is not something to be hidden or apologized for. It's a natural, integral part of being human. Self-pleasure is not about replacing intimacy with others. It's about deepening your understanding of yourself so you can bring more authenticity into your relationships. Ultimately, the goal isn't to eliminate masturbation or label certain habits as bad. It's about balance, learning to experience pleasure in ways that nourish rather than limit you. The process of retraining your arousal is both physiological and emotional, and it begins with awareness. By experimenting, slowing down, and removing judgment, you open the door to a more fulfilling, sensitive, and connected sexual life. When we talk about sexual well-being, it's important to remember that it extends far beyond just physical pleasure or performance. True sexual health encompasses confidence, emotional safety, and a sense of connection with your body, and if you're in a relationship with your partner. Masturbation, when practiced mindfully and without guilt, can be one of the most empowering tools for achieving this balance. It allows you to explore your body, learn what feels good, and strengthen your relationship with pleasure. But as with any aspect of health, too much of a good thing, or doing it in ways that strain rather than support your body, can sometimes create challenges. The good news is that these challenges are almost always reversible with time, awareness, and gentle adjustment. If you've noticed that you're struggling to experience the same level of pleasure with a partner, or that it's harder to reach climax, that's not a sign of permanent dysfunction. Instead, it's your body's way of signaling that it's become conditioned to a particular routine. Just like muscles that strengthen through repetition, sexual responses adapt to habits. By consciously changing your routine, you can reawaken sensitivity, deepen connection, and restore balance. The first step is simply taking a break. Many of my patients are surprised when I suggest this because it sounds counterintuitive, but rest is one of the most powerful tools for resetting sensitivity. If you've been relying on very firm or high-intensity stimulation, giving your body a few weeks to recover allows nerve endings to recalibrate. During this time, I often recommend focusing on body awareness in other ways. Gentle touch massage, even mindfulness or yoga. These practices help you reconnect with your physical self without associating it solely with sexual pleasure, allowing the brain to broaden its sensory map. When you're ready to resume, reintroduce touch slowly and intentionally. Think of it like learning a new rhythm rather than returning to an old one. Use lubricant to reduce friction and enhance smooth, natural sensation. Experiment with different types of lube. Water, based for shorter sessions, silicone, based for longer ones, and notice how the change in texture affects your experience. The goal isn't just to reach climax, but to enjoy the process of rediscovery. For individuals who've experienced decreased sensitivity due to repetitive or overly intense techniques, such as death grip, masturbation, varying your approach can make a world of difference. Try switching hands, slowing your movements, or focusing on different erogenous zones altogether. You may find that what once felt necessary for arousal isn't required when your body is relaxed and open to new sensations. If pornography has become a central part of your arousal routine, consider taking a break or shifting the type of content you consume. There's nothing inherently wrong with erotic media, but overreliance can desensitize your mind and body to real-life intimacy. Instead, use your imagination or engage with sensual, less explicit material that encourages emotional connection and curiosity rather than overstimulation. Over time, you'll likely find that your natural arousal response becomes more spontaneous and less dependent on external stimuli. Another crucial aspect of rebuilding a healthy sexual relationship with yourself is addressing guilt and shame. These emotions can be deeply ingrained, often stemming from cultural, religious, or familial messages that portray sexuality as something to hide or feel embarrassed about. But guilt has no place in the context of healthy self-exploration. I remind my patients that pleasure is a natural biological function, not a moral issue. Masturbation is not a measure of self-control or worthiness. It's simply one of the many ways we connect with ourselves. Releasing that guilt can be incredibly freeing, and it's often the first step toward more authentic, satisfying intimacy. One helpful exercise is reframing how you think about self-pleasure. Instead of viewing it as a habit or release, see it as a form of self-care, like exercise, meditation, or taking a quiet walk. It's an opportunity to tune in rather than tune out. By approaching it with intention rather than urgency, you can transform it from something mechanical into something deeply restorative. Communication plays a vital role in this process, especially for those in relationships. Talking openly with your partner about what you're experiencing can bring tremendous relief. Many people fear that discussing sexual challenges will make their partner feel inadequate or rejected, but in reality, transparency often strengthens intimacy. When you share what you're learning about your body, what feels good, what doesn't, what's changing, It invites your partner to be part of your journey. This shared vulnerability builds trust and can reignite connection in profound ways. In some cases, especially when anxiety or long-standing habits are involved, working with a sex therapist can be invaluable. A trained therapist can guide you through exercises like sensate focus or mindfulness-based sexual therapy, helping you reestablish healthy, pleasure-centered patterns without pressure or judgment. These approaches focus less on fixing performance and more on rebuilding confidence and connection, two of the most essential components of sexual fulfillment. It's also important to consider how lifestyle factors influence sexual health. Chronic stress, poor sleep, alcohol use, certain medications, especially antidepressants, and medical conditions like diabetes or hormonal imbalances can all affect libido and sensitivity. Addressing these underlying factors through medical evaluation, therapy, or small changes in daily habits can enhance overall sexual function. Remember, your sexual health is a mirror of your overall well-being. When you nourish your body and mind, your sexuality often flourishes naturally. As a result, equally significant is movement. Many of us spend hours sitting at desks, in cars, or on couches, and this can impair blood flow to the pelvic region. Activities like yoga, stretching, or even daily walks improve circulation and release tension in the pelvic muscles, which can heighten arousal and sensation. Your body thrives on balance, and sexual health is no exception. Finally, be kind to yourself. Healing your relationship with pleasure isn't about perfection, it's about progress. There will be times when you feel connected and vibrant, and others when frustration or self-doubt creeps in. That's normal. The key is to meet yourself with compassion rather than criticism. Your sexual health, like every other aspect of your well-being, deserves patience, care, and understanding. As you integrate these changes, you may begin to notice shifts that go beyond your sexual life. People often tell me they feel calmer, more confident, and more present overall. That's because learning to slow down and reconnect with your body isn't just about sex, it's about mindfulness, self-respect, and emotional wholeness. In the end, masturbation is neither a problem nor a prescription. It's a personal practice. When done with awareness, it becomes a way to celebrate your body, understand your needs, and build a stronger foundation for intimacy with others. There's no right frequency, no perfect formula, only what feels healthy, balanced, and aligned with your life. If it enhances your well-being, strengthens your confidence, and doesn't interfere with your relationships or responsibilities, then it's serving its purpose beautifully. So if you've ever wondered whether you're doing it wrong, the truth is this: you're simply learning. Every body, every person, every experience is unique. The goal isn't to follow rigid rules, but to explore with curiosity, compassion, and respect for yourself. Pleasure is a form of health, and when you treat it that way, you give yourself permission to live more fully in your body, your relationships, and your life. And as always, remember, take care of yourself because you are absolutely worth it.